All right, so this is a suggestion via a channel member. Let's jump into it.
Bring in Victoria Coates, former Deputy National Security Advisor and Heritage Foundation VP of National Security. Great to see you this morning, Victoria. Thank you for joining us. So, what do you make of what you're seeing this morning?
Now, this is really a new day for the Western Hemisphere, and this is so much bigger than Venezuela. You know, what the purpose of this mission was to take out Nicolás Maduro, who, as Wes was just pointing out, is an indicted criminal. He's not just the head of state of Venezuela. He's an indicted criminal under U.S. law.
Yeah, but like, I mean, I get it. In fact, here, like 100%, he is an indicted criminal in the United States of America, but he's not in the United States of America, right? So like, it's kind of one of these things where it's kind of like all over the place here. I'm definitely trying to kind of get more of the insight here, but it's similar to Venezuela basically saying that we're going to indict President Trump and then say that we have to go get President Trump. That's kind of where I'm at right now, but unless, again, there's more insight.
So this was entirely authorized by the president under Article 2, and it's very typical of President Trump that he does a surgical strike to take out a high-value target like the Iranian nuclear program, like Qasem Soleimani in January of 2020. Get him out of the country, and he's going to try him under U.S. law. But as I said, this is broader than Venezuela. We've been talking about Cuba all morning. Cuba may now collapse. Yeah. That's 90 miles off
I can
of
see
the shores
Cuba
of Florida.
being
that is a direct threat to the United States.
The next one you're looking at.
That hostile communist regime at long last, 60 short years later. So I think this is a huge day for the United States. It is just a new dawn for the Western Hemisphere.
What would be the impetus for Cuba to collapse in the wake of this?
Well, it would be economic because since the fall of the Soviet Union, which was Cuba's old patron, Venezuela has been supplying Cuba with cheap oil. And the island has been so hideously mismanaged economically that is their lifeline at this point. So if that is cut off by the new interim government, which I hope is being run by Maria Corina Machado, that then could be the end for the communist regime in Cuba, and Cuba could once again become a good friend to the United States. So strategically, this is a great benefit to us.
Yeah, super valid point.
Victoria, currently the regional nations, but also globally, there's been a very muted response. We haven't heard specifically from Iran and China and even Russia regarding this. What do you think the response today from the international community? What do you think we can expect?
Nicole, I think it's going to stay pretty muted because just as with the Iran strike, these are capabilities no other country has, including China and Russia. They can't do this kind of activity. They're just not capable. And when the president exercises that kind of exquisite capability and they see what we can do in terms of advancing our own interests, there's really not much response that they have. And so just as you saw very little out of China and Russia around the B-2 strike on Iran, I don't think there's going to be much on this.
Hey, Victoria, you said it's bigger than Venezuela.
I mean, I definitely suspect strong condemnation from Russia, mainly.
Mexico is a big question mark in all of this. 23 minutes ago, Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, simply appearing to condemn what has happened because she cites Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the Charter of the United Nations, which says the members of the organization in their international relations shall refrain from the threat or use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state or in any other manner inconsistent with the purposes of the United Nations. So that's not a direct condemnation, Victoria, but it is suggesting that she doesn't approve of what has taken place. That comes, by the way, in the full context of the fact that the Trump administration has not recognized Maduro as a legitimate leader or his regime as a legitimate government of Venezuela.
No, that's a really important point. Last July, Secretary Rubio put out a statement on the anniversary of the stolen Venezuelan election saying Maduro is not the legitimate head of state of Venezuela. And so I think Claudia Sheinbaum is probably legitimately concerned, given her ties to the drug cartels in Mexico, that she could be indicted and she could be subject to this kind of thing. But the good news here is...
Yeah, but she's like an actual elected leader, right? Like, so... I don't really see that being potentially a thing here, guys.
Is that Article 2 of the Charter of the United Nations is not binding U.S. law. Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution is, and that was the authority the president used.
Okay, but does Venezuela or any other country outside of the United States of America, like intrinsically adhere to the U.S. Constitution. Again, this is such a slippery slope because we're setting precedent in a way that is not, as we've already seen what happened in like '89 with Noriega, guys. We saw the repercussions of that happening. So listen, I like the idea that we got a criminal, guys. I like the idea of that by default because again, I'm moderate, well, I'm heavily law and order type of individual here. Kind of the rule of law, all law that we basically adhere to, but we do also, in fact, adhere to international laws and the laws of sovereignty. So, um, we can indict him here, sure, but they could also do the same, if that makes any sense. But again, they don't have really the capability to I guess, to infiltrate another country under the cover of darkness. Let's just say this year. At the same
Indeed.
rate.
And of course, the president has at every turn pointed out that this operation was done in conjunction
You said
with
ads? What ads?
U.S. law enforcement agencies, the DEA. How do you expect to see this trial unfold? We assume it's going to happen here in New York. President Trump told Fox News earlier this morning that that Maduro and his wife were being brought here to New York, where I guess he will be imprisoned. They will be imprisoned here. How do you see that trial playing out?
No, I mean, just as we've seen the just consummate professionalism of our extraordinary men and women in uniform, and just all compliments to my friends at Fort Bragg who carried out this operation just extraordinarily competent. We will now hand these people over to our very competent Department of Justice, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi. And I'm quite sure that this trial will proceed by the law. I mean, it'll be by the book. And as Wes was saying, the evidence is overwhelming here. Venezuela has descended into just being a narco-terrorist state. And that's what really changed the calculus here, is Maduro went from being kind of overseeing the narco-terrorists to being one of the narco-terrorists and creating this De Los Soles cartel. And so that's what made this different. That's what makes him actually a criminal like Noriega in Panama. But the other thing here then is that this becomes a vital national security interest of the United States. We're not in this out of altruism. I mean, right. I hope for a better day for the people of Venezuela, but this was turning into a direct threat to the United States, just like Panama, because of the existence of the Panama Canal, was a direct threat to the United States in 1989. So that's what's different here. I think the trial will be, again, a textbook case of the rule of law. This will be good for other rogue actors around the world to observe.
Hey, Victoria, just real quickly, before we let you go, I did want to get your reaction because I've been struck out of all the responses from members of Congress this morning, some on the left saying that this was unauthorized, some Republicans praising it, thanking President Trump for this effort and this operation. But Congressman Jimenez, Carlos Jimenez from Florida, is saying that this is the equivalent to the fall of the Berlin Wall. Do you agree?
Well, Congressman Jimenez, of course, who's of Cuban descent, has a strong interest in this. His constituents are all part of this community. And yes, for them, this is the fall of the Berlin Wall. This is the possibility for the opening up of Latin America. Because bear in mind, Griff, it's not just Venezuela. It's Bolivia, which it's just
Cuba.
Elected a conservative government for the first time. It's Argentina. These can all now be great, good friends to the United States. So, yes, I agree strongly. This is the equivalent.
All right. Okay. Victoria.
Okay, guys. Okay. Like, I mean, this is going to be gigantic, like specifically in that region, but I'm not sure that it's going to be specifically gigantic for all of the reasons that I think we're all kind of hoping for, at least, right? Listen, Colombia it needs to be looked at, right? Mexico specifically needs to be looked at, but we also still need to kind of understand that our laws by default generally do not mean anything in any other place, right? So I think things need to still stay within the realm of international law, specifically being something that we adhere to. Because the last thing we really need to do is ostracize our allies. I get it; we're the most powerful. I know that. We can shake hands on that. I'm aware. We can do things that other places cannot do. This is basically the reason why we've been the world's police since the 50s here, right? Now, understand this here, a slight interesting contradiction at least, right? we cannot consistently complain about having to dump money in foreign places, um, if we are still, I guess, now trying to maintain, let's say, the Monroe Doctrine in the West, right? We're trying to kind of consolidate power kind of in the West exclusively, but yet we're kind of going into places that, you know, are also considered guys. This is so tricky, bro. I will say though, the right and the left, like they both have like really good points here when it comes down to this here. I would say personally, when it comes to it, bro is a criminal. He had to go. I agree. We're not. I'm not complaining about him being gone. Right. I'm just mainly pointing out the issue overall with precedent. Right. So that's it. Um, if are our laws the only laws on the planet that mean things, or are all the nations sovereign? Because we need to make up our minds here, guys. All right, like, I think we need to make up our minds, um, because I think with the with this exact mentality, I don't know, bro. Let's insert any country's name, Zimbabwe, bro. Whatever laws that they have dictated mean, um, these laws mean things in other places. That's kind of how I take that. um, and the precedent of it by default is what's moderately troubling, because again, this can be used against us in some meaningful way at some time. This will be referenced, right? But again, Maduro had to go. So again, again, multiple things from multiple angles, I think can definitely be true in the context of what we're encountering right now in our history, guys. Right?
Guys, do you want to watch movies with me? I never actually thought to like promote it over here, guys. But if you guys do want to watch it, guys, we have hundreds of movies, and I mean hundreds of movies that we've reacted to. You guys can come watch them with me if you want to, along with many TV shows. Currently, we're working on the show Dexter, along with Vikings, and we have a lot of series that are already completed. But if you guys do want to watch it with me, the link is in the description. Everything's available at the second tier. But of course, if that's not your thing, guys, don't worry. Right? Listen, like and subscribe.